Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a framework that absolutely shatters conventional business wisdom. We're looking at Peter Thiel's 0 to 1. It's a playbook for entrepreneurs and innovators that challenges literally everything you thought you knew about startups, competition, and how we actually build the future. So if you're ready to stop copying what already exists and start creating entirely new value, you are exactly in the right place. Let's get into it. Okay, let's dive into this. What important truth do very few people agree with you on? Take a second. Really think about how you'd answer that. It's notoriously difficult, isn't it? Well, this is the famous contrarian question Thiel uses to interview candidates and challenge founders. The core premise here is that most folks believe all the easy problems have already been solved, right? That progress from here on out is just, well, incremental. But this question, it forces you to look for secrets hidden in plain sight, because true innovation absolutely demands independent thinking.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to deconstruct these dense concepts into a totally digestible, highly actionable playbook. We'll hit 1. The contrarian question, 2. Monopolies drive progress, 3. Building 10x technology, 4. The distribution imperative, 5. Culture and the power law, and finally 6. 7 questions for success.
Section 1. The contrarian question. Discovering secrets hidden in plain sight.
So, the crucial point is this. To build a truly successful business, you have to look in underdeveloped fields, maybe even taboo subjects, or look at the intersections of entirely different disciplines. You've got to find a truth the crowd has totally missed. True progress means taking the world from 0 to 1. See, when you take something that already exists and just copy it or scale it, you're going from 1 to n. That's just incremental. But when you create something entirely new, when you solve a totally unique problem nobody else is touching, you go from 0 to 1. Think about companies like PayPal and Facebook. They weren't built by incrementally tweaking what was already there. They were built on massive contrarian insights that completely changed the paradigm.
Section 2. Monopolies drive progress. Why competition is actually for losers. And this brilliantly illustrates the biggest myth in business. We've always been taught that competition is the beating heart of capitalism, right? But in reality, they're opposites. In a state of perfect competition, you're just looking at commoditization. Markets are incredibly crowded, margins are razor-thin, and businesses are locked in this ruthless daily struggle just to survive. There's literally nothing left over to invest in the future. On the flip side, look at the creative monopoly. By solving a unique problem or completely dominating a specific niche, you achieve high margins and proprietary technology. But the real kicker? A creative monopoly actually has the breathing room and the resources to drive long-term societal progress. You don't want to compete. You want to create a monopoly by starting small, dominating your niche, and then slowly expanding. Section 3. Building 10x technology. Engineering the future with definite optimism. So to actually build that monopoly, what kind of mindset do you need? Well, it requires what's called definite optimism. This is the rock-solid belief that the future will be better not because of dumb luck, but because we actively plan and work to make it so. Relying on chance or just keeping your options open basically leads to well-rounded mediocrity. A successful founder isn't an indefinite optimist just crossing their fingers. No, they are definite optimists. They hold firm convictions, figure out the one absolute best thing to do, and then execute like crazy to shape a better future. Let's ground this high-level philosophy in some tangible reality. Think back to the 1930s. The construction of the Golden Gate Bridge was a massive triumph of definite planning. In the 1960s, the Apollo program didn't land us on the moon by chance. It was a concrete, fiercely ambitious vision. Moving to the 1990s, Google built search algorithms that definitively organized the web. And in the 2000s, PayPal and Apple's iPhone completely revolutionized payments and communication. These weren't accidents, folks. They were highly planned, ambitious creations that fundamentally shaped the world we live in. But here's the catch. To create that massive level of impact, your proprietary technology must be at least 10 times better than existing alternatives. 10x. A 20% improvement just won't cut it. To overcome the huge inertia of existing solutions and deeply ingrained consumer habits, and to forge a true monopoly, your solution has to be an order of magnitude better. That could mean inventing something entirely new, radically improving an existing tool, or creating a wildly superior integrated design. Section 4. The distribution imperative. Great products do not sell themselves. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it breaks down a harsh reality. Technologists and engineers so often fall into the trap of thinking a wildly superior product will just magically sell itself. They completely underestimate the noble, absolutely essential art of sales. But different products mandate totally different distribution methods.
For example, if you're selling multi-million-dollar contracts, think SpaceX or Palantir, you absolutely need a complex sales strategy. If your product is aimed at businesses but on a slightly smaller scale, like Box, personal sales is the sweet spot. Now, if your product gets more valuable the more people use it, hello PayPal, you need viral marketing baked right into the product's DNA. And if you're selling consumer goods like Warby Parker, marketing and advertising are your main engines. The big takeaway here, distribution can never be an afterthought. It has to be designed into your product from day one.
Section 5, Culture and the Power Law, the math and people behind success. You know, a strong company isn't just about ping-pong tables and free snacks. It's about a fiercely shared mission and complementary skills that forge a highly dedicated startup mafia. And right at the center of this culture is something called the founder's paradox. Successful founders often exhibit extreme, seemingly totally contradictory traits. They're wild visionaries, but also grounded pragmatists. They act simultaneously as insiders who know exactly how the system works and outsiders who are totally willing to smash it. This exact paradox is what allows founders to see opportunities that literally everyone else misses. It's also why public perception of them can be so complex. They're often idolized and demonized at the exact same time as they break conventions to drive innovation.
And all these founders, they're operating under a brutal mathematical reality called the power law. This is not your standard bell curve. The power law is a distribution model where a tiny, extremely small number of outliers vastly outperform the average of everything else combined. For entrepreneurs, it means you can't just aim for safe incremental growth. You have to aim to create a massive, category-defining company, because in startup math, the winner takes almost everything.
Consider this massive reality check. The biggest secret in venture capital is that the best investment in a successful fund equals or outperforms the entire rest of the fund combined. Let that severe, unforgiving reality sink in for a second. That right there is exactly why venture capitalists concentrate all their resources on the few most promising opportunities, and why you must focus your startup on exponential, 0-to-1 growth.
Let's move to it and see how this builds into our next segment. Section 6, 7 questions for success, the ultimate test for your startup.
This is the ultimate test for your startup idea, a framework to ensure you aren't just building a cool product, but a highly durable business. To really grasp why these questions matter, we have to look back at a massive failure, the clean tech bubble of the 2000s. Billions and billions of dollars were poured into green energy startups that ultimately just collapsed. Why? Because they chased a popular, noble trend, but completely failed to answer fundamental business questions. They totally ignored the mechanics of how to actually build a monopoly and deliver a product. It's a huge cautionary tale of exactly what happens when you substitute shiny hype for rigorous business logic.
So here it is, the ultimate checklist to avoid the clean tech trap, the 7 questions every business must answer. Number 1, the engineering question. Can you create actual breakthrough tech, not just incremental tweaks? 2, timing. Is right now the absolute perfect time to start this specific business? 3, monopoly. Are you starting with a huge share of a small, focused market? 4, people. Do you have the exact right, uniquely suited team? 5, distribution. Do you have a baked-in way to actually deliver your product to customers? 6, durability. Will your market position be defensible 10 or even 20 years from now? And finally, 7, the secret. Have you identified a totally unique opportunity that no one else sees? If you are aspiring to build something truly great, you absolutely must rigorously apply these 7 pillars to your own ideas.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this incredibly powerful thought from the text. Every moment in business happens only once. The next Bill Gates is not going to build an operating system. The next Larry Page won't make a search engine. If you're just copying these people, you really aren't learning from them. True innovation is fleeting, and the opportunity to go from 0 to 1 is entirely unique to your specific moment in time.
Which leaves us with the absolute most important question of all. You now have the playbook. You understand the insane power of contrarian thinking, the sheer necessity of a creative monopoly, the unforgiving math of the power law, and the critical importance of distribution and definite optimism. So, what will your 0 to 1 be? What is the secret you see that the rest of the world is entirely missing? Find it, build it, and go shape the future.